So now it's probably most interesting and important part. We're going to talk about clinical trials aimed to find medication that can slow down disease progression. And that's why you're here. So I cannot skip this, but there are other things also important topics that we will cover later on. So let's just resume. And I'll concentrate on some trials. And so we don't have any FDA-approved disease-modifying therapies right now. They don't exist, unfortunately, but we're actively developing it. One, the study I was involved in, it's called pped. Some of you participated. Basically, that study aimed to see if the isradipine, which is the blood pressure medication, can slow down disease progression. So it was a phase 3 study, double-blind, placebo-controlled study, involved 336 patients and at 56 different sites in the United States. And it lasted for 3 years. And basically, the endpoint was to see if the symptoms get better or not. What the safety and so forth. So the results appear to be embargoed until May, until they're released at the American Academy of Neurology. So they've been calculated already. The study was analyzed. The unblinding will take place next week. So the patients will know whether they took placebo or they took the real drug. But the big disappointment is that I cannot tell you the results because of the embargo that was put. They have to announce them at the American Academy of Neurology officially. So I'm subject to that limitation. So that in early May, that will be publicly announced. So that's one thing. Hopefully. Now, the next one is a drug that's basically chemotherapy drug you might have heard of that currently starting phase 2 to slow down disease progression. It works by reducing alpha-synuclein through inhibition of tyrosine kinase. The other one I wanted to tell you about was my study that I'm doing, iron chelation. So basically, the deal is that patients with Parkinson's disease have too much iron in the brain. That iron appears to be detrimental to dopaminergic neurons and implicated in pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease. So the idea was to remove that extra iron from the brain and see if that slows down disease progression. I got the grant from the government. I did not get permission from the FDA to do it, apparently, because of the potential side effects. So in Europe and Canada, these studies are ongoing, and the preliminary data does look promising, but not allowed in the United States, unfortunately. So what I'm doing now, I'm just measuring iron in the brain over a 2-year period, and looking to correlate that with dopamine. So see if the dopamine decreases and if the iron increases at the same rate or iron accumulates before dopamine decreases. So it all entails for you, for those who are interested, I have Lizzie Lane, she's our clinical coordinator, so she has consent forms. If you're interested in looking into that, you can get a consent form and look at it at home and then ask questions about that. But basically, it's 2 visits. You come here, we do MRI and the PET scan of the head to measure iron and dopamine, and then we do same thing 2 years later, and we'll compare. So it won't cost you anything. I think they reimburse you for your time as well. And it's safe, so we look at those levels. I know it's not going to benefit you directly, but it's definitely useful to understanding the role of iron in the brain.